All right, we are joined by driver the number 41 Haas factory team Ford Mustang Dark Horse in the Cup Series, Cole Custer, coming off an eighth place finish this past weekend in Mexico City and headed to Pocono, where he's a two-time winner in the Xfinity Series. Cole, thanks for joining us today. Before we get to questions, just your take on Mexico City, how things went for you, and just kind of your feel on how the weekend went overall.
Yeah, I mean, it was great for our team being able to go there, get an eighth place finish, our first top 10 of the year. Just had solid car all day, good strategy. I didn't make any mistakes. The pit crew did good, didn't make any mistakes. So overall, just a really solid day for us. And it was a great, hopefully at the halfway point of the season, we're able to start clicking off some good finishes and moving it in the right direction.
All right, we got a line of questions here, so we'll take them one by one, and let's kick it off since she was on the poll. Let's start with Claire B. Go ahead, Claire.
Thank you. Cole, I did tell him that I've always told you you're great at analysis. So it was really, really good what you did doing analysis for MRN. I want to ask you about a statement about building a notebook. And everybody knows what that technically is, but your team is doing that right now. It helped that you had the eighth place in Mexico. Can you give a little bit more to the fans about what building a notebook is like and what it takes from you, how you kind of keep track of what you do or how that has helped you so far or what you need yet over at the Haas factory team?
Unfortunately, a lot of things that we do, in racing, it's trial by error. So, you go out there, you try and make a change to the car, you see if it's better or worse. And if it's worse, you don't do it. And if it's better, you keep working on that. So, with the limited times that we get to practice and having a practice this past weekend in Mexico, I think definitely helped our team being able to kind of build our notebook, figure out what we wanted in our road course cars and kind of what I need in the car. And I think from there, I think throughout the year we'll get better and better. But it can get frustrating because it is pretty much trial by error of trying to figure out what we need to do with the cars. And you try and rely on simulation as much as you can to work in the right direction, but there's nothing like those real life experiences.
So as you head to Pocono, where do you think your team is at? And how much did Mexico help? And where are you at having what you need to be a contender?
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, the start of the season didn't go how we wanted. We wanted to be in a better spot, but I think hopefully, I feel like we've been starting to bring better and better cars to the racetrack. The intermediates have definitely been tough on us. So hopefully, as the year goes, we're able to work better and better and get all the aero stuff figured out for those tracks because it is just so important when you go there. But I feel like we're moving in the right direction. It's just a matter of putting races together. And, I feel like the road courses, the short tracks, the super speedways, all those should be strong suits for our team. And I think we're still working on the intermediate stuff, but I think we're going in the right direction.
Well, have fun at Pocono. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Claire, have fun in the lake. Good luck with those walleye. Let's go to Bob Pockris. Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, Cole, I'm curious, how much of a notebook did you guys keep I mean, do you have any of the Stuart Haas notes or is none of that applicable?
We have a lot of notes to look at. I'm not going to lie on that. It's just a matter of for what our cars currently are right now and what our team currently is right now. It's there's a lot of moving parts. We have different simulation than we had last year and different tools to work with. So there's a lot of different moving parts that it's not as simple as just plugging one thing in and hoping it works. We actually kind of found that out at the start of the season. So you really have to tailor it around your team because it's all new people, all new tools. So we're really having to work through that stuff. And I think we're starting to get in the flow of things halfway through the year here.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Bob. We had Dustin Long in here twice. Now he's only in here once. So, Dustin, I'll go to you and hope that everything is working right technically. You good?
I'm good. Thank you very much. Hey, Cole, can you give me a sense of perspective? I think you have probably an interesting perspective on this. You were in the series in 2022, the first year of this car, and then going to Xfinity and coming back this year. How much, as a driver, are you having to do things differently now compared to 22 because of the development of the car, because of the close competition, because even some of the different tracks? How much of a different driver do you have to be this year than you were in 2022?
Well, I think the biggest thing I noticed when I first came back is just how good the cars drive, honestly, which I know is kind of a hard thing to say because it's not like we're really up there in points or anything. But that first year was so many unknowns. You'd show up to the racetrack and really didn't know what you were going to have. If you were going to hit limiters or hit rub blocks, or it was the Wild West really of figuring this car out. Where now everybody's dialed in these cars so good, it's just a game of thousands, literally thousands of trying to figure out things to make gains and trying to beat the guy next to you. So it's the field's really gotten a lot tighter. The cars have gotten to drive better. So you really have to just be 100% in every single area.
So how do you become a better driver if everything's so much tighter compared to 2022?
I think the biggest thing is, looking at, really taking your sim time serious, using all the notes that you can to rely on to try and make sure you're prepared for the weekend. And that's, I think in working with your team to get what you need in the race car to try and go faster. So I think those are the biggest things that you can try and work on as a driver, studying to get better.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you, Dustin. Let's go to Scotty. Hello, Scotty. Go ahead.
Hey, thanks, Dan. And Cole, thanks for joining us. Two questions for you. First question is kind of talk to the fans about the differences. We're heading to Atlanta next week about obviously Talladega and Daytona, different kind of drafting style, but talk a little bit about how Atlanta differs from those. And then my second question to you is, since you did have that 8th place finish last week in Mexico City, we're heading to Sonoma, we're heading to Chicago. Does that give you and your team some confidence going to a stretch of road courses coming up here in the mid part of the season?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first question, going to Atlanta, I mean, comparing that to Daytona and Talladega, the biggest thing is just the handling, especially when we go back there for the summer race. I mean, it's just so hot that you really have way more handling involved than you do at like I say, Daytona or Talladega. So you still have the drafting aspect, but everybody's hanging on for dear life a little bit, so the field gets a little bit more spread out just because you can't race as tight just because you have to worry about the handling. So it's definitely a different dynamic where you see a little bit of a mix of mile and a half and super speedway racing. And then the second question, going to the road courses, yeah, I mean, I'm definitely looking forward to those places. I feel like that practice at Mexico did us good for, figuring out what we wanted in the cars. And I think having a solid finish definitely gives us some confidence going to the rest of them.
Thank you, Cole. Have a great week.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scotty. Let's go to Leonardo Polanco. Go ahead, Leonardo.
Thanks. Paul, talking about the NASCAR Mexico City weekend, how was it on the setup? The track was also really different with some of the dots on the practice, but in general terms, how did you saw it? And will you come back to Mexico City for another race?
I thought the track raced really well. I thought it has really good passing zones with turn 1, turn 4, turn 11, turn 12. So it's a racy track. There's fall off in the cars. It's not an easy place to get around. I thought the track was awesome. So I wouldn't mind going back. It is logistically, it is hard at times. And we found that out as a team this week with our flights getting canceled and everything. But I feel like, second time around, everything would be easier. So, I wouldn't mind going back.
Cole, I want to ask, because sorry, Leonardo, I know Dustin posted a video of just what it was like to go through the stadium. Now, you guys drive past the grandstands all the time, every week, but what was it like to kind of split the stadium, and kind of come through and make that turn and kind of then go through? Was that kind of a neat experience?
It was cool. I don't think I've ever seen a setup that was legitimately, I think it used to be a baseball stadium. And, now you have a racetrack running through it. So it was pretty awesome. I mean, I've never been a part of something like that that's, so tailored around the fans and how they, encapsulate pretty much the whole area. So it was almost like you're in Bristol, but a road course a little bit, but it was pretty cool dynamic.
All right. Very good. Let's go to Samuel Stubbs. Go ahead, Samuel. You're up.
Thank you, Cole. Thanks for taking the time today. I wanted to ask you kind of to piggyback off what Bob was asking earlier, the differences in your first tenure at SHR to now, with you and your 41 team being the lone survivor, I guess, for lack of a better term, being that Cup team operating with Haas. Was there any sense of added pressure? Is there any sense of added pressure because you know that you're kind of the team now that you're trying to rebuild this Cup Series program with for Haas in a second tenure there?
Yeah, I mean, I think we all put the pressure on ourselves, at this level. We all want to go win. A lot of everybody on our team, there's a lot of people who have won races on our team that have, expect to go run out front. So I feel like it's a matter of, we want to go. That's our end goal, is go and compete for wins. So we're putting that pressure on ourselves, and we know we need to get better. And I think at the end of the day, our guys aren't going to stop working until we get there.
Thank you.
All right, let's move over to RJ. Go ahead, RJ.
Hey, Cole, just kind of a perspective question here. Kind of explain, I mean, you've done this before going from Xfinity to Cup. People talk about it all the time, the differences when you're competitive in Xfinity and then grinding it out in Cup with how competitive the field is. Obviously, eighth place in the 00 last year at Mexico City, right? That's kind of where you want to be, if not more. Eighth place now in the Cup Series in the 41, right? That's a huge weekend for you guys, especially being kind of in a debut year and you're back in the Cup Series. Explain the perspective of shifting over where you're, chasing trophies, chasing championships over there in the Xfinity Series to now you're kind of trying to build that notebook like we were talking about earlier in the Cup Series.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a reset. I think as us as a new team, we have to be smart about how we, try and go out there and get solid finishes, try and maximize our days. And sometimes that's not for a win, but it's a matter of just how we build our notebook and how we move in the right direction is the biggest thing. So you have to be smart. You don't want to be tearing up cars when you're trying to, build a program almost and try and get things better and better. So you have to be smart about things, but I think it's a great challenge for us. I think, there's a lot of people that want to prove some people wrong on our team, and we want to go out there and compete with the best of them. So I feel like we have the tools to do that. We just have to keep working and, get our notebook better and better. And I think as we hopefully in this second half of the season, we're able to hit our stride a little bit.
Thank you, Cole.
Well, Kelly wants to know, kind of playing off, you said earlier that the cars are kind of comfortable to drive, and that was kind of a difference from the first time that you were up in Cup. But what's different, or what feels different this time versus the last time you were in the series? And then expectations versus reality of like you say, where the team is now.
I mean, I wouldn't say that they drive comfortable. I would definitely say that they drive better, though. That first year it was just everything was so crazy with everybody just figuring out the car. I think everybody's just really fine-tuned it till now. So it's just really brought the field a lot closer and closer together. And I think for us, expectations wise, I mean, I feel like we want to go out there this second half of the season and try and live in the top 20, live in the top 15, get some top 10 finishes. And, if you're able to live in that top 15 or so, like you're going to compete for wins at some point because the field is so tight. So we just have to keep trying to work at that and try and get in that area.
I got another question here from Roy Akers, who couldn't make it today, but Pocono with the different turns, ability to put drivers in some different, situations as far as compromise and all those kinds of things. How do you plan to kind of overcome some of the challenges that you face at Pocono this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, Pocono's so tough, with 3 different corners, such long straightaways. You have to have everything working. You have to have good strategy, good pit stops, a great car that can work in all 3 corners. The driver has to be on their game because it's a tough place to get around with how fast it is and how flat it is. So you just have to really be 100% in every single area. And, I feel like we're working in the right direction. So hopefully we can have a solid weekend.
All right, Claire's got her hand back up. So Claire, you got a follow up? Go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about Pocono. And when you first went to Pocono as a young driver, how challenging it is, how you can get into trouble there, or, kind of what you've learned, where you think you are at Pocono?
Yeah, I mean, I remember going there the first time and, trying to go through the tunnel turn, and I was scared to death, so it's just it can be such a hard place to get comfortable at because it is so fast. And at the same time, you're going into a corner at, 180, 190, and it looks dead flat when you're going into it. And there's big bumps, in the center of turn 2. So there's just a lot of things that you have to get comfortable with there. And I feel like it's been a solid place for me. I've, won a couple of Xfinity races there, an ARCA race, but I feel like, it's always a place that challenges you that you can do better at. You don't ever feel like you leave that place like you did an absolutely perfect job, because it's so hard to really hit perfect laps around that place every single
And then
time.
how do you walk into it this time then? Do you feel like, oh, I'm so much better at understanding it, or are you still a little like, I don't get this place as much as other places?
I think I understand it. It's just a matter of getting comfortable with it. Especially since I haven't driven the next gen car there in a year or two. Just being able to go there and be really aggressive, through turn two and everywhere you need to go. It takes a lot of commitment. So I think for me in practice, just getting used to, how far I can get into the corner and how much I can get away with.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Cole. Thanks so much for giving us a few minutes of your afternoon. Wish you the best this weekend. And the one thing I've learned on this call is if you look over your left shoulder, a broken clock is right at least twice a day. And obviously that clock behind you needs a battery or something like that.
I had to look up Zoom backgrounds before this, so that's my bad.
That's okay, man.
I'm sitting in the F-250 right now.
No, it looks good. It looks good. I mean, everything, background, all it looks good. So best of luck this weekend, man. Thanks.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, guys. Appreciate you.